surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs, from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about margarita clubs and old-fashioned clubs? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside margaritas or old fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with Taco Night on Mondays or Whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
The wait is over. It's Truck Month at Anderson Ford, which means big selection and even bigger savings on Ford F-150s. Like lease a 2025 Ford F-150 for only $195 per month. The truck that's built to work hard and play hard. Another reason you'll experience better at Anderson Ford. Stock number 1008409. Previous service letter. $195 per month for 36 months, 7,500 miles per year, 8,500 with type. Tax, title, and license fees extra. Residency restrictions apply. Program subject to change. Must take new retail delivery from Anderson Auto Group by 3/31/26.
There are so many realtors in Lincoln and Omaha, but don't get overwhelmed by all the no-names, plus all the different companies. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Real Estate is your go-to option, whether buying or selling residential, luxury, leasing, investment properties, or commercial property, small or large. Ben's team offers decades of experience, unbeatable customer service, and promises to fully protect your interests throughout the entire transaction. Call 402-419-6309 for all your real estate needs. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group of BHHS Ambassador Real Estate.
Welcome into the post-game post-up. Nebraska basketball just finished up another game. Hustle down to the block and get position.
Shot clock to 7. Hoiberg missed. Got his own rebound. Right back up. Missed it.
And there he is. Garcia. How big has he been down the stretch for this Nebraska ball club?
10 points all in the second half. Now the lead back to 3.
Join 93.7 The Ticket to break down the best players and key moments from today's action.
Sanford a couple of steps from behind the line. And now Lawrence from the corner. He hits. And another eruption from all the red and Lincoln.
Not even close.
Now Creighton has not been able to hit anything. 0 for 8 from distance. Traeger hits some space. He connects.
Post-game coverage of Nebraska basketball on The Ticket is sponsored by Union Bank and Trust, the Lincoln Airport, Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, and John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical.
Here we gotta go.
Down to 5. Hoiberg kicks it out. Lawrence for the win.
It's the post-game post-up on 93.7 The Ticket.
Yes, welcome into the post-game post-up here on the 93.7 The Ticket. It might be somewhat of a brief one. We've got to keep going with women's programming today, celebrating Women's Day, International Day here at 93.7 The Ticket. But for right now, we do have a half an hour of post-game. I'm Jake Bakovin in studio, and man, was this a good one. Nebraska basketball getting the win, 84-75. It took overtime. It took a lot. It took a lot from Gail Jacobson. What a game from the former walk-on, Gail Jacobson from Ashland, Nebraska. Absolutely making the critical plays, hitting 2 big threes in overtime to help kind of secure this thing. I mean, was getting big rebounds. I mean, he was just 4 steals today. He was everywhere today and kind of filled a role that maybe had been missing a little bit for Nebraska over the latest stretch, which is that they had become somewhat dependent again on Price Sanford and his offense. And Nebraska, I mean, not to say that Price didn't do well today with his 15 points, helped lead the way along with Sam Hoiberg and Gail Jacobson with their 15 points. But, you know, it's not one of those 30 or 28-point performances or something. And and even you look at the previous game against Iowa being a perfect example when Price had 13, okay, that led the way. One other Husker in double figures was Jamarcus on that day with 11. But just kind of throughout the year, it had been, okay, if your leading scorer or one of your team leaders was not there that night or getting to their spots, getting as much, points production as they usually get, somebody was stepping up. And whether that had been Jamarcus Lawrence or Sam Hoiberg or somebody along the way, right? It just kind of happened. And Nebraska used that to their 20-game win streak out of the gate. And then recently, it seemed like it was a little bit harder to kind of get that. And Nebraska found it today from Kel Jacobs. And this is not a one-man show. Of course, this was a great game. A lot of fun. Things that could have gone better, absolutely, certainly. Need to hit your free throws, especially on the front end of one and ones there at the end. Could have basically got this game done in overtime. Again, as been the story for Nebraska, and allowing offensive rebounds have been a little bit of trouble for the Huskers. You can't complain too much. This team now, after all, has their program tying 26th victory, but there's still things that could be improved upon along the way. Rebounding was a big factor for the last time out, again in Carver Hawkeye Arena in Iowa City when Nebraska lost that game. Not so much the factor today, only getting out rebounded by 3, but of course there was the big one near the end of regulation that was kicked out to Combs of Iowa, who hit the big 3 there to send this into overtime. Of course, Nebraska did get an opportunity there to heave it from midcourt and get a shot to win in regulation. That was not meant to be. And so Iowa had all of the momentum going into the overtime period. And in the first couple of minutes through it, or minute and a half through it, was, both teams having a couple possessions, not necessarily getting it going. But that's when Kel Jacobson hit the first 3 in overtime. And then Nebraska did not look back from there. He had another one again. Hoiberg got a big steal, and a bucket there in overtime as well. And so Nebraska, again, gets the win here, 84-75. We invite you guys, of course, to go ahead and chime in, celebrate the victory, as you know how. 402-464-5685. Give us your thoughts on the text line. We will certainly read them. But we do want to shout out our sponsors as well for the post-game show, Union Bank and Trust. Get a great rate on 6, 12, or 24-month CDs with Union Bank and Trust. Learn more at ubt.com. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical, proudly serving the Lincoln, Omaha, and surrounding areas. John Henry's can assist you with any service like electrical, maintenance, installation, or repair. Call today at 402-809-1159 or go to jhlincoln.com. And another shout out to our sponsor, Lincoln Airport. American Airlines is back at Lincoln Airport, bringing new nonstop flights from Lincoln to Dallas-Fort Worth and Chicago's O'Hare starting in June of 2026, with seasonal winter services as well to Phoenix starting in the winter of 2026. Tickets are on sale now. Speaking of tickets, people are going to be starting to book their tickets for a few different things here, as of course, this isn't just the end of the Iowa game. It is kind of starts the beginning of tournament time. Nebraska, for this magnificent season that they've been able to pull off, now the 2 seed in the Big Ten tournament, as likely as anybody to come out of that thing as a champion. How cool is that to say? And then, of course, around the horizon this time next Sunday, we should know where Nebraska sits in the NCAA tournament. And at this point, again, even if you did drop one, I hope not, right? If you did drop one on Friday, you're still sitting pretty for a 3 or 4 seed in that tournament. Of course, that, as we know, as has been leading up to this point, will be the opportunity for Nebraska to get their first NCAA tournament victory. So can't count our chickens before they hatch, but they are about to hatch. The questions that we've been wanting come down here toward the end. And it's so amazing to get here and fun to get here with the overtime win that Nebraska had over Iowa, a program, of course, in Iowa that has been a thorn in the University of Nebraska's side, not just basically, program wide, go to football, go to these other sports, but in basketball as well. I think they had 3 straight wins against the Huskers at this point going into today. Nebraska had close to a double-digit lead, if not a double-digit lead there for majority of the second half, at least I should say, dwindling down to the final couple of minutes. And that's when Iowa made their big comeback. And you could maybe start to think, here you go again. You lose that game, of course, still, as we know from yesterday, Nebraska would be a top 4 seed, given the fact that Wisconsin beat Purdue yesterday. And so, again, still be a magnificent season, still be plenty to celebrate, but there would kind of be a little bit of a Hawkeye cloud over the program. Now that Hawkeye cloud is gone, I'm interested to hear from people that were there, what the atmosphere was like. I mean, this was a game for all the reasons. I mean, the senior night, a great class of seniors going out here this evening. I saw both Hoibergs getting interviewed there by the end on national TV. How cool was that? But the senior night, the opportunity to tie that school record with 26 victories. Obviously your last chance to see them here at home at Pinnacle Bank Arena, and then the Iowa factor. Not just the Iowa factor, but the fact that Iowa wasn't very nice to our Huskers there when they went out to Iowa City this last time out. Not just losing the game, but of course the fans there too. So I'm interested to hear from people how they felt about this specific game and atmosphere. But I did want to get to your response as well. Most of it just celebrating. We'll start with YouTube. Kendall says, what a game, GBR. Conservative Husker, same type of thoughts. Insane game, GBR. Conservative Husker also points out, glad that Cale Jacobson is a junior. And again, you couldn't ask for much more for Cale Jacobson today. It'd be easy to say if you can get this time, this out of him game in and game out. That's what you're looking for. But of course that's the case. I mean, if you shoot 6 of 6 and with 15 points and go out there and get 8 rebounds and 2 assists, don't turn the ball over, of course you want that every night. But, that's going to be hard to replicate too often. But as we know, again, with some of those seniors going out, who's going to fill the Sam Hoiberg role next year? Again, doesn't have to be necessarily the exact same role, might not lead the nation in assist to turnover ratio, all that sort of stuff. But Cale Jacobson is a big building block and only getting better with this team. And you got to say, I mean, this was his best game. What a special moment for Cale Jacobson as well. I have a couple thoughts off the text line. Chip sent this in during the game. So this was for Jacobson's big run out. He says, I don't like Jacobson complaining when things don't go right. Yeah, it's kind of part of the game in basketball. I can understand people getting frustrated, but that's kind of modern basketball. A lot of that happening, and I'm sure Chip at this point probably feels like, you know what? Okay, you can complain a little bit as long as he has a game like he did today. David Fullerton says Jacobson's big play at critical times. Good job, guys. Go Big Red. Cubsker says Cale Jacobson and Sam Hoiberg are dogs. He throws in a bleep Iowa there. Didn't say bleep, but I'll go ahead and bleep it out for him there. Cornhusker JS1 says greatest finish in history and crush Iowa to do it. Idiots out walking around. Sorry if anybody's out there in Iowa. Of course, that is the name, an acronym that's been thrown out a time or two. Keep them cell phones away from Hoiberg. So he was prepared for this one. I think he set that up in case he won. He was ready for his trash talk, which is good. True up to quit mentions Lawrence Wordensby coming come tournament time. And I think he's specifically talking about those free throws down the line. And that was certainly interesting for both Nebraska. And this isn't the first time, when you have really good free throw line shooters go to the line, have the opportunity to get the win. Of course, the same thing kind of happened against Purdue, specifically for Jamarcus Lawrence today. He's not going to be happy about those free throws. He did get a steal, did kind of seal off the game with a bucket down the end. Still struggling a little bit to find that shot. 3 of 11 today from the field goals, and then 2 of 6 from 3-pointers overall. So start off the day actually hitting a 3. That was kind of the hope. Obviously, since he tweaked that ankle, has not been, and I don't know if it has anything to do with it. I mean, droughts can come here and there, but has not been necessarily shooting all that well at this point. But then six assists for him tonight. I do want to point that out. Team leading 6 assists as well for Jamarcus Lawrence. And so, I mean, if there is a concern that's going to come out of it, I think that it's fair to say, with Jamarcus Lawrence's free throws there, and I don't want to specifically highlight him, but of course you got to hit those free throws toward the end. He knows that. Everybody knows that, especially front end of 1-and-1s to close out. Iowa gave them a chance, but Nebraska was able to overcome that, right, and win this game in overtime. How cool was that? Kendall off YouTube pointing out, too, with all the steals, how far off is Hoiberg from the steal record? I should go back and look, but I will say this. Shout out to Cookie Belcher. I think he got to play like 6 years, which probably helps a little bit. But Cookie Belcher, who played for Nebraska, Teron Lou's cousin, and on the Clippers staff at this point in time, late 90s, early 2000s, one of the all-time NCAA leaders in steals for career steals. We're probably talking about single season But I can look into that, but it's going to be a long time. It's going to be hard for anybody to top that, I should say. But let's go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, Arden Lockheim going to join me here and talk some Huskers as they beat Iowa today. A big one, 84-75, to improve to 26-5. Big Ten tournament just around the corner. We are as well. We'll be right back here on 93.7 The Ticket.
It's the two-fingered wave on a gravel road. It's letting the kids take dad's truck to prom. It's Friday nights under the lights of a hometown football field. Eustace Body Shop knows small towns. It's where our values are rooted. We treat our people right, and in turn, they treat you, our customer, right. And we give back to our communities. Not much more small town than that. Eustace Body Shop, small town service, big city technology.
The most recommended Eustace Body Shop. That's who we are.
Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services is here to help you protect things that are most important to you. Whether it's your home, your family, or your future, Jack Russell has the proven experience to get the job done while developing authentic relationships with you. Give Jack a call today at 402-421-9100. Again, that's 402-421-9100. Or visit one of his 2 locations in Lincoln or Seward and learn how you can excel in the complicated world of insurance. Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, a trusted and well-respected representative since 1999.
With UBT, you've got total control over your money. Like Doug, who runs his game day tailgate like a well-oiled machine.
I got burgers, brats, chicken, dogs, plus all the fixins. And with the UBT Go app, I can track my food spending from anywhere.
Pro move.
They don't call me Grill Sergeant for nothing.
No matter your goals, UBT helps you feel good about reaching them. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
Want to make the easy call? Call John Henry's. From leaky pipes to a broken AC, flickering lights to furnace fights, even drains and duct cleaning, we've got it handled. Plumbing, heating, air, and electrical, all under one trusted roof. Proudly serving homes across Lincoln, Omaha, and surrounding areas, and ready 24/7. Visit calljh.com or call
John Henry's.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating,
and Electrical.
Let's fly. Your next trip starts at Lincoln Airport with American Airlines. Now flying nonstop service to Dallas, Fort Worth, and Chicago. American Airlines connects Lincoln to major hubs and destinations around the globe. Wherever you're headed, LNK gets you there with new nonstop flights on American Airlines.
Now boarding.
Convenient, fast, and stress-free. Book your next flight at LincolnAirport.com. LNK, make flying easy.
Looking to get a room downtown or near South Lincoln? Abe Lincoln would tell you no to the Ford Theater and yes to Lincoln Hotel. Save up to 40% off downtown Lincoln prices with a nice clean room and comfortable stay. Lincoln Hotel is locally owned and offers a day pass to the city's largest locally owned gym, Good Life Fitness. Long-term stays are available. You can learn more about pricing and book your Lincoln Hotel stay today at staylnk.com or call 402-600-0565. That's staylnk.com or call 402-600-0565.
Now back to the post-game post-up on 93.7 The Ticket. Post-game coverage of Nebraska basketball on The Ticket is sponsored by Union Bank and Trust, the Lincoln Airport, Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, and John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical. It's the post-game post-up on 93.7 The Ticket.
We are back here for the post-game post-up. Thanks for joining us. As always, get your thoughts in. 402-464-5685. Nebraska with a huge victory. The city of Lincoln is on fire right now as Nebraska has beaten Iowa 84-75, clinching the end of the regular season as well as tying Nebraska's all-time winningest season there with 26 victories. What a season it has been. Thanks again to our sponsors, Union Bank and Trust, John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical, and the Lincoln Airport for getting us going. I did want to get thoughts from Arden Lockheim, though, and she is in studio here to get us going here in this portion of the postgame. Arden, how's it going today?
It is great. Even better that the Huskers walked away with that one from a win. I heard in Sam Hoiberg's end of game interview with his dad, he was just saying that every senior out there today was saying, we cannot go out on a loss to Iowa. It cannot happen. Just such a dark spot on the careers if they had. And seems like they really just made that into kind of come into fruition basically, and got a little iffy there at the end. I was feeling a little bit like the women's basketball game against Rutgers, where they had that 20-point lead at one point, and then it just slowly slips away, and then they're out in the first round of the Big Ten tournament, and then with the end of the game, as you kind of said earlier, the lead just dwindling, and then the second chance 3-pointer. But second that we got into overtime, Jacobson hits those threes. It kind of felt like, to me, that moment of just, oh, things are going right. Jacobson, I think he only had 12 threes on the year coming into this game. And then he, makes 2 back-to-back, or I guess 2 for him back-to-back. Hoiberg made a layup in between those 2. But, just he has shown that he shows up in big moments. It was the Crown tournament last year, which is not the largest moment. Obviously, the Huskers are hoping for better, and they are achieving that this year. But for him, he was taking an opportunity that he was given in the Crown tournament last year, Crown tournament MVP, and then another time today, just gets hot at the right time and was perfect from the field for the whole game. And I think it bodes really well, as you alluded to earlier, of the fact that he's a junior, and senior night is also a indication of who you're losing. And, with the names of Lawrence and Mast and Hoiberg, those are pretty big gaps that are being left behind. But that's next year, right? And then this year they secure the triple bye and get the second seed in the Big Ten tournament. And they have aspirations far beyond that as well. But I think it was good to get the kind of monkey off the back of, you said, that dark cloud of Iowa and how they had that loss earlier. I think it's notable they still got out rebounded, which is interesting to me. I called the game against Maryland a few weeks ago, I guess last week, and every single loss the Huskers have had, all 5, they got out rebounded. That was the most notable statistic. And that was a really big reason, if anyone watched the other Iowa game, why they lost that game. They just got killed on the boards. It was closer today, only a -3 differential, but I mean, the game almost came down to a rebound there at the end.
Yeah, it absolutely did. I mean, that was and that was obviously the scariest part for Nebraska throughout the day. And unfortunately, that's where you have to, as an athlete, like, dig in, right? Because even though you're in your home building, there's so much pressure on you. They've got all the momentum. I mean, you feel at that point like, okay, we blew this. There was opportunities there. And then, I could see it in the huddle too, as they were going into overtime. It just kind of reminds you how even keeled this team is, like a reflection of their coach and Coach Hoiberg. I saw him talking to Price Sanford again just on the screen, and Price looked like it wasn't feeling overtime. Could have been in the middle of the second quarter. It's just kind of like, let's go, let's lock in and get it done. And so Nebraska did. I mean, what an amazing performance again for the Huskers. It was a team performance today, and they needed it, right? 3 different guys with 15 points, and Price Sanford, Sam Hoiberg, and Kel Jacobson. Rink Mass adding in 14 points as well. 3 boards for him as well as, 2. And it's kind of interesting. Nebraska has been, sometimes it's taken a little bit to get going into the second half and now into overtime. This looked like it was going to finish where the first game did, right? Iowa won that game 57-52. This one was at 30-26 at halftime. So, even at that time, you're kind of thinking, okay, maybe we're playing in Iowa's pace. Price Sanford came out, hit some back-to-back threes at the beginning of the second half. Grew a little bit of a lead for the Huskers again, which they were able to hold on to for a majority of this game until Iowa kind of got it going. Bennett Sturts, by the way, a tough shot, right? Had to get a tough 3-pointer up. They were down 3 to get that opportunity. So the rebound, you just hate it. It does count as an offensive rebound, but it was an air ball, right?
Yeah,
that comes right to
when
him.
it hits no part of the basket, it's hard to. It was more so just right place, right time for the Hawkeyes, and able to dish that one out and get the wide open 3, and credit to Combs for connecting on it. But I also think it's notable, both Frager and Lawrence didn't have their greatest games. Braden Frager only with 6 points and Jamarcus Lawrence only with 8. Both of those are under their season averages. So the fact that you can walk away from a game with your 3rd and 4th leading scorers not performing to the level that they usually do, and still walk away with a win over a Bo who has kind of had your number the past few times, I think is very important, very encouraging for the Huskers, and I think a really good sign. And hopefully, I think what would be huge for the team is if they can all have everything come together, and then not only are Jamarcus Lawrence and Braden Frager contributing as they usually do, but then maybe you do get that assistance of Kel Jacobson and the 15 from Sam Hoiberg. That's a bit above what he usually produces. And some, obviously, for both Hoiberg and Jacobson, those numbers are increased because of overtime. I mean, Sam Hoiberg scored 6 of his 15 in overtime. Jacobson also contributed 6 of his 15. So that's, notable that there had that extra time at the end there, but it's still important to see.
Yeah, some extra work for Nebraska to get the victory today, but they'll take it one way or the other. Now, Arden, comes the question as we kind of turn toward the postseason play. And it's funny because, these things can be just based on your last game, right? When you kind of get into these questions. But, there has been this thought of Nebraska maybe peaked after their 20 wins to start the season. How much you want to throw that out there or not depends on kind of how you're feeling. But, of course, that loss against UCLA, nobody wants to remember that. That was an ugly 20-point loss on the road. So there was some concern coming into this game. Not that necessarily Nebraska wasn't going to be capable of winning a tournament game or making a little bit of a run, but if they, how close to they are they to their peak, right? Does this game kind of make you feel a little bit better, or are you like full board, like feel like they're right firing like they were kind of mid-season?
I don't think it's the midseason Huskers that we saw. I think notably, obviously, Frager and Lawrence, neither of them producing the way that they usually do. But if you think about it, it doesn't matter what a win looks like. I think it was Amy Williams who said it in the Husker women's basketball locker room, and it was posted on Instagram, was that they're not going to win with their best stuff every single time. And the teams that are going to make it deep into March and hopefully you're playing at the beginning of April and everything like that are the teams that can get a win even when they don't have their best stuff. And I think that's what the Huskers did today. It wasn't their best game in the world. They got out rebounded. It got a little bit sloppy at the end. But to your point, they were calm in the huddle. They recollected and they got done what needed to be done in overtime. So do I think it's the same midseason form? No, because I don't think that midseason form was getting beat by any team in the Big Ten by 20. That UCLA game was, I would say, a bit of an anomaly. I think it could also just have to do with the fact that in terms of the time in the semester, I don't know how much homework and stuff that they have, but I can speak to my end as a student athlete. It's a busy time in the semester. You're out in the West Coast for, extended periods of time. You have kind of an awkward amount of time in between games. You're not practicing in your home gym, but I think it's really impressive the way they bounced back from that. I think kind of silenced some of the questions. And I think the biggest part is that they silenced a lot of the questions that would have been hanging in the air had they lost to UCLA and Iowa. And I think this kind of makes up for some of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and that's what you kind of feel like what was on the line today, because it was kind of interesting. Obviously with things that played out, they already clinched the triple bye. Now they'll be the second seed in the tournament, Big Ten tournament, rather than the fourth seed. So that definitely helps out with it. Quality of team you're going to be playing, moving forward. But either way, any team that makes it to Friday is going to have deserved to make it to Friday and feel good about the way they're playing. So that's one thing about the triple bye. There's no all right, well, let's hope that this or that happens. No, you're going to be playing a pretty good team by the time they make it to that part of the tournament. You hope, obviously, that you have the fresh legs and can take advantage of that if you are the Huskers. I did want to get to the stats before we go out here, too. A couple ones that you specifically mentioned, the rebounds. Nebraska did lose this rebounding battle 32-29. Again, winning the game overall, you'll take that. But 7 offensive rebounds from Iowa. So that will be something to look forward to for Nebraska. Free throws were big in this one. Iowa's 10 of 15 from the free throw line, the charity stripe. And Nebraska, as I click through here, lost it there. 20 of 27, so 74%. Again, Jamarcus Lawrence is going to want those free throws back. Sometimes, it counts as one miss on the front end of those 1-and-1s, but it's really 2. So, you want a better percentage going in there. 3-pointers, 37% from both teams, 11 of 30 for Iowa, 10 of 27 for the Huskers. Again, Kel Jacobson knocking down some big ones there in the overtime period. Assists today, 17 for the Hawkeyes, 18 for the Huskers. This was a game of steals. Absolutely no blocks, not one block from either team all game long. But as far as steals go, Nebraska with 11 and Iowa with 9. So that led to the turnovers being 19 for Iowa, 12 for Nebraska. Assist to turnover ratio thus is 17-19 for Iowa, not where you want to be. Huskers 18-12. They're better than that overall on the season, so they'll want to do better than that, but still, obviously, a little bit better in that category. Goes a long way in any basketball game. Fast break points, Nebraska with 8, Iowa with 5. Points in the paint, Huskers won that one 34-30. And the fouls, 18 fouls for Iowa, including a couple on 3-point attempts for Huskers, and 12 fouls today for the Huskers as they get the win. Anything else besides the rebounds kind of stand out to you among those stats?
The biggest thing for me is second chance points. The Hawkeyes had 10, Nebraska had 5. and that lends itself to those rebounds that we're talking about, is as the caliber of the teams increases as the Huskers go through the Big Ten tournament and into the NCAA tournament, you cannot be giving up extra possessions. And those second chance points are just going to come back to bite you. The Hawkeyes scored double than the Huskers in that category, 10-5. And that, I think, is going to be the biggest area that, Coach Hoiberg is looking over these stats. He's going to see that right away. And that's the biggest area that needs to be tightened up, because the better the team gets, the more that you're going to pay for that. You just simply cannot be giving up possessions.
Absolutely. That'll be important as tournament play is upon us. One final shout out to Union Bank and Trust, John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical, and Lincoln Airport. Also, one final shout out to Arden Lockheim. Thanks again, Arden, for jumping in studio with us. For those that don't know, what is your connection to the program and here at the Ticket?
Yes, so I have a radio show on Tuesdays called Big Red Birdies with my teammate. Clearly, I'm in golf attire. We are both members of the women's golf team, so we talk all things Husker golf, have a bunch of really cool guests on. And then on Thursdays is my own personal show, Arden's Angle, just trying to give you a look into life of different Husker athletes and discover them from a new angle. I've had Sam Hoiberg on. I had Terea Sigler last week, Emerson Cope, kind of covering a bunch of different sports. And both of them, you also just kind of hear my opinions on sports of the week. So both of those are awesome. I love being a part of the Ticket, and it's a great place to be.
Absolutely. Shout out also to Austin Orman. Go head over to his Twitter. Try to follow us on 93.7 The Ticket on Twitter as well. He will have additional coverage from this game from the arena. He's out there at the press conference, so not able to join for this specific post game. But coming up next year on 93.7, Walk the Herd. Don't go anywhere. We keep on going all night long. I should say close to all night long, pretty much here on 93.7 The Ticket. So we will be right back. Don't go anywhere. Shout out to the Huskers for getting the victory. And we'll have more post game all season long for the Huskers now into tournament action.
There are so many realtors in Lincoln and Omaha, but don't get overwhelmed by all the no-names, plus all the different companies. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Real Estate is your go-to option, whether buying or selling residential, luxury, leasing, investment properties, or commercial property, small or large. Ben's team offers decades of experience, unbeatable customer service, and promises to fully protect your interests throughout the entire transaction. Call 402-419-6309 for all your real estate needs. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group of BHHS Ambassador Real Estate. Have you been looking for home technology upgrades but don't know where to turn? Online information can be contradicting and confusing. Lincoln's own experts at Dio Technologies can turn your living room into the place to watch your favorite sports. Whatever your vision is, Dio Tech is ready to make it a reality. From home theaters to outdoor entertainment spaces, they bring you along through the entire process to make sure you get exactly what you want. If you're ready to upgrade your entertainment space, visit Diotech online at diotech.net or give them a call at 402-793-5124.
Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services is here to help you protect things that are most important to you. Whether it's your home, your family, or your future, Jack Russell has the proven experience to get the job done while developing authentic relationships with you. Give Jack a call today at 402-421-9100. Again, that's 402-421-9100. Or visit one of his 2 locations in Lincoln or Seward and learn how you can excel in the complicated world of insurance. Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, a trusted and well-respected representative since 1999.
Want to make the easy call? Call John Henry's. From leaky pipes to a broken AC, flickering lights to furnace fights, even drains and duct cleaning, we've got it handled. Plumbing, heating, air, and electrical, all under one trusted roof. Proudly serving homes across Lincoln, Omaha, and surrounding areas and ready 24/7. Visit calljh.com or call John Henry's.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air,
and Electrical.
Let's fly. Your next trip starts at Lincoln Airport with American Airlines. Now flying nonstop service to Dallas, Fort Worth, and Chicago. American Airlines connects Lincoln to major hubs and destinations around the globe. Wherever you're headed, LNK gets you there with new nonstop flights on American Airlines.
Now boarding.
Convenient, fast, and stress-free. Book your next flight at LincolnAirport.com. LNK, make flying easy.
Winning is about more than wanting it. It's about working for it. As Bulldogs, we see that hard work pay off every day. In the classroom, in our faith, in competition. At Concordia, the momentum is building, and you can be a part of it. Join a winning team at Concordia University, Nebraska.
John just tried Runza's new Jammin' Bacon Cheeseburger with its sweet heat bacon jam, pepper jack cheese, bacon, and cream cheese.
Whoa, this burger's like totally
What?
You know, boom, 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 boom.
Not sure I'm getting it.
It's totally jammin'?
Ah, I see. Well, don't jam with your mouth full. Try the Jammin' Bacon Cheeseburger. Because from the way we make it to the way it makes you feel, Runza makes it all better.
Gentlemen, are you ready for something beyond the ordinary haircut? At Scissors and Scotch Lincoln, they blend your old school barber feel with your favorite watering hole. Sink into a comfy chair, unwind with a complimentary drink, and let their master barbers handle the rest. It's not just grooming, it's an experience. Whether you're prepping for a big meeting, needing to get cleaned up before family comes to town, or just need a little time to yourself, Scissors and Scotch Lincoln delivers sharp style every time. Book now at Scissors and Scotch in Lincoln, just south of 30th and Yankee Hill Road.
With UBT, you've got total control over your money. Like Doug, who runs his game day tailgate like a well-oiled machine.
I got burgers, brats, chicken, dogs, plus all the fixins. And with the UBT Go app, I can track my food spending from anywhere.
Pro move.
They don't call me Grill Sergeant for nothing.
No matter your goals, UBT helps you feel good about reaching them. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
There are so many realtors in Lincoln and Omaha, but don't get overwhelmed by all the no-names, plus all the different companies. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Real Estate is your go-to option, whether buying or selling residential, luxury, leasing, investment properties, or commercial property, small or large. Ben's team offers decades of experience, unbeatable customer service, and promises to fully protect your interests throughout the entire transaction. Call 402-419-6309 for all your real estate needs. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group of BHHS Ambassador Real Estate.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. Welcome into the post-game post-up. Nebraska basketball just finished up another game. Hustle down to the block and get position.
Shot clock to 7. Hoiberg missed. Got his own rebound. Right back up. Missed it.
And there he is, Garcia. How big has he been down the stretch for this Nebraska ball club?
10 points all in the second half. Now the lead back to 3.
Join 93.7 The Ticket to break down the best players and key moments from today's action.
Sanders, a couple of steps from behind the line. And now Lawrence from the corner. He hits. And another eruption from all the red in Lincoln. Not even close. Now Creighton has not been able to hit anything. 0 for 8 from distance. Prager gets some space. He connects.
Post-game coverage of Nebraska basketball on The Ticket is sponsored by Union Bank and Trust, the Lincoln Airport, Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, and John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical.
Here we gotta go. Down to 5. Hoiberg kicks it out. Lawrence for the win. Got it.
It's the post-game post-up on 93.7 The Ticket.
That's right. We are back here surprising you a little bit here on 93.7 The Ticket. We did close it out, but then we got the news from Rebecca that she said, you know what? It's Iowa. It's the end of the regular season. It's a big win. Go ahead and extend the post game. And so we'll do that here on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Jake Bachman in studio with Arden Lockheim and Austin Orban now joining us live from Pinnacle Bank Arena. Austin, what a game it was. I got to know from the TV product, of course, first and foremost. I mean, it was it looked like quite a daunting atmosphere there. What was the atmosphere like at Pinnacle Bank Arena, both at the start of the game and just kind of throughout it? Obviously, a lot of highs and lows.
Yeah, it was pretty darn good. I would say senior day festivities went about as you would imagine. Nice hands for Blue and Garcia. Good round of applause for Jamarcus Lawrence. Then by far the two biggest ovations of the day, Rink Mass and obviously Sam Hoiberg, right? Fred Hoiberg gave his team, those guys specifically, a lot of credit for being able to play through the emotions of the day, to be able to handle it. This was a Pinnacle Bank Arena crowd that, aside from the senior day festivities, I would say was good, right? Pretty much what you'd expect, right? Loud, normal loud, maybe not overwhelmingly loud throughout the game. And I think a lot of that credit, though, goes to Iowa. Every time Nebraska threatened to run away with this one or put, some breathing room between them and the Hawkeyes, they'd find a way to make a play and keep Pinnacle Bank Arena, a little bit subdued, right? It was a good crowd. And then at the end, after probably the Lawrence steal and the Koch turnover stepping on the end line, that's probably the loudest I've ever heard this place. I think if Nebraska had been able to hit a three, whether it was from Mast or Sanford, to stretch that 10-point lead up to 13, that might have blown the roof off. But, I've been here for some pretty loud environments. I've been here for some pretty darn good games, and certainly, blessed, fortunate, lucky, whatever word you want to throw in there to be able to do so. That was probably 30 seconds of sustained peak volume. I don't know if Pinnacle Bank Arena has ever had that after Nebraska finally iced this one despite having so many chances to do it earlier in the game. Hard to say they escape with a 9-point win. Kind of feels like at times Nebraska escaped, but they're set up now with the 2 seed officially in the Big Ten tournament.
I mean, Austin, I want to hear, we got asked here about what you think this Nebraska Huskers team compares to what they looked like midseason. After recovering from that 20-point loss to UCLA, they now come back and get the win over Iowa. Do you think that they are back to midseason form? Are they still kind of a shadow of what they were, or what did you see today?
I would say that Nebraska probably isn't peak Nebraska, right? It's not the team that got out to 22-0. I don't think that's, or 20-0, whatever it was. I don't think that's fair to put on this team. But I think that's for good reason. I think Nebraska started playing some teams that had seen them twice. We hear from a lot of coaches just how unique a preparation the Nebraska game is. So I think that, Nebraska had to deal with the midseason injuries to Mast and Frager. I think those guys are, pretty much back to normal, maybe working through the last kind of vestiges of whatever injuries they have. I think the defense, especially in the second half, I know Nebraska gave up 40, but was probably as connected as Nebraska's been in a while. That's probably in midseason form. Nebraska missed some of those shots that would have put the game away or really stretched the lead out to where a team that's built like Iowa to go as slowly and methodically as the Hawkeyes are wouldn't have been able to get the layups at the rim. Obviously, free throws play into that. So, no, I don't think that Nebraska is playing at its peak right now, but I think what we can give Nebraska credit for is that it's not necessarily the same team it was midseason either, right? This is a Nebraska team that's been able to get on the offensive glass a little bit more recently. It's a team that I still believe has the capability to light it up from three. Nebraska, pretty efficient day overall from three, 37% on 27 attempts. They made 10 of them. 2 of them, of course, from Cale Jacobson in overtime. Absolutely massive shots by him. But where I think we could see Nebraska start to maybe look more like midseason form is in the NCAA tournament, right? Nebraska's tread water over the last month and a half or two against teams that are more familiar with it, that got away with some bumps, some holds, all that stuff. But I think when opponents see Nebraska for the first time, what Nebraska does, coaches continue to say it in postgame, what Nebraska does is so unique that I think we could see maybe Nebraska look a little bit more consistent, probably with an overmatch, 13 or 14 seed in the first round of the NCAA tournament, and then a quick turnaround for Nebraska for whoever their second round opponent could be if they get out of the first round. I think that, the fact that Nebraska is so different gives them the best chance to look like midseason Nebraska coming up here in a couple weeks.
And of course, you mentioned postgame there a little bit. We're live on postgame here. I want to know what postgame meant at Pinnacle Bank Arena today from Coach Hoiberg. I saw there were cowboy hats and tears and everything. So what was postgame like here from Coach Hoiberg and the team?
Yeah, post-game was cool. They had the players come back out for a curtain call. Fans had started going to the exit, so definitely wasn't a full crowd for the curtain call from the team. But I got out of the Ben McCollum presser and the Fred Hoiberg presser, and Nebraska's fans are still lined up probably 6 or 7, maybe 8 rows deep of, young fans looking for autographs from players. Still a handful of players out there signing, memorabilia and whatnot for the fans, which is pretty cool. It's a great scene, right? Of course, a historic year for Nebraska. They've already tied the most wins in program history, and they still have 2 postseasons to go to get one more win on the board, and they'll be in a couple advantageous positions to do so. Ben McCollum said, credit Nebraska. They played much differently today than they did in Iowa City in terms of how they guarded Bennett Sturts, in terms of how physical they were, not backing down from what Iowa did. Credited Nebraska's effort and intensity on the defensive end. And Fred Hoiberg, his big thing was giving credit to the guys that pushed through the emotions of senior day. It certainly wasn't a smooth ride from beginning to end, right? Nebraska caught up in this game by as much as 11 points. The latest point they led by 11 was at 59-48. But to see Nebraska find ways to fight through some of that adversity, some of it self-inflicted with missed free throws and turnovers, some of it good shot making from Iowa. Fred Hoiberg was really proud of his guys for finding ways to win games, especially this one here on senior day against Iowa for his own son.
Absolutely. And then when you kind of look at it in Cale Jacobson and what he did today, obviously, I think his best game as a Husker, was that a big talking point in the postgame?
Yeah, I mean, it got brought up. Cale was speaking post-game, but you texted me just in time. I actually ducked out before the players got in there because I'd much rather hear from you two than from whoever Nebraska's going to put on the podium from the players' side of things. That's how much you guys mean to me. But no, Cale Jacobson, obviously a huge story. Ben McCollum gave him credit. And I was joking. I don't know, if I was half joking or more or less, but a performance like that at home against Iowa kind of makes a guy feel in the moment like Nebraska has its 2026 point guard right there in Cale Jacobson, who's been so steady with the ball in his hands, who's found ways to score crafty buckets in the paint, who knocked down the 2 key 3-pointers for Nebraska. He started the overtime scoring with the 3. He answered a 5-0 Iowa run to tie the game with a 3. Came up with a huge steal on Bennett Sturts and on-ball defense there late in the game. Solid positional rebounder. With Sam Hoiberg departing and Jamarcus Lawrence departing, Cale Jacobson's going to be the only guard back with any experience, really the only lead ball handler back with any experience. I guess I'm probably 30% kidding that Cale Jacobson has locked up the 2026 starting point guard role right now, but we saw at the end of last year, Jacobson got his opportunity in the Crown, played pretty well. He's been a key reserve for Nebraska at points throughout the year. I think if, Cale Jacobson is the starting point guard for Nebraska last year, this performance, will be in the rearview mirror. He'll have to earn it over the offseason, but I think fans will be able to point to last season's run at the end of the Crown, his minutes throughout this year, and then culminating in a big win in the regular season finale against Iowa as, reasons that they could be comfortable with a guy, like Cale Jacobson, a lefty from Ashland Greenwood, taking the court and handling the ball for Nebraska to start 26-27.
I mean, there's still time for him this year to add more evidence to that resume.
Mm-hmm.
In post-game, Hoiberg probably is looking ahead, right? They get that triple bye. What did it seem like he wanted to focus on the most in the time that they have before they start that Big Ten tournament?
I think the primary focus for Fred Hoiberg right now is figuring out the schedule. I mean, it's been a long time since Nebraska has been rated this high in a conference tournament. They got the 3 seed a couple of years ago and they made the NCAA tournament. That was just a double bye. Now it's a triple bye for Nebraska with all 18 teams on the men's side making the Big Ten tournament. He was asked, what kind of shape are you guys in? What does the 4-day break mean in terms of the legs? He says, yeah, they're fine. The 4-day break, I think, is going to be really beneficial for this Nebraska team, who did go a little bit deeper into the bench today by just one player. They actually played 8 guys instead of just the 7 that they had been for a while. But I think for Nebraska, the big thing is going to be, what it's been all year. Can this team block out the outside noise? Can this team handle the outside, noise, pressure, expectations, whatever it is you want to call it? Can they stay within the confines of that locker room? And no matter what the schedule ends up being, depending on their practice schedule, their travel schedule, their walkthrough schedule, media that I'm sure they'll get when they get to Chicago, just finding ways to stick together as a team, right? Now's not the time to separate. Now's not the time to feed into what everyone else is saying about a historic regular season. The vibe I got from Fred Hoiberg is one day at a time.
And to follow up on that vibe, can you get any feeling at all of whether there's an acknowledgement and awareness anything like that, of that they haven't won an NCAA tournament game, that is going to be a storyline for upcoming weeks until they hopefully can finally get that monkey off their back.
I think it's something that they acknowledge. How could you not? It's been the elephant in the room pretty much every time Fred Hoiberg did a media appearance of some sort, with national people, right? Here locally, I think that's obviously really well known. But with Nebraska not being a huge brand name, I think the low-hanging fruit is the lack of an NCAA tournament win. And Fred Hoiberg was asked about that all the time, right? And I think that you have to acknowledge that it's there, but you also have to keep it in its place, right? Because you can put first NCAA tournament win up there on a platter, right? That's a goal. But is that the goal, to just get one and then you're satisfied? That's the question Fred Hoiberg has asked his guys all year. Okay, good win. We got it. We continued our march. We continued our climb. Is anyone here satisfied? The answer's been F no, more often than not from the rest of the team. So yeah, I would be shocked if it's not a topic of conversation. I think when you think back even to the Sam Griesel, Manuel Bandamel, Derek Walker teams, I think that, that's a team that still deservedly gets a lot of credit for kickstarting this era of Nebraska basketball. I'm sure they talked about it, wanted to be the ones that turned it around. And you have to be able to keep that big picture focus of, hey, we have the chance to make history. We know what's at stake. We want to be the ones to do it, but you can't rely on that big picture as your driving focus. What has to drive this team and what has driven this veteran team all year has been the ability to focus in on the little things, right? Because you don't win the big things necessarily by doing the big things. You win the big things by doing the little things again and again, time after time. And I think that's probably where Nebraska's focus is, heading first to Chicago and then to, I guess we'll see.
All right, Austin, before we let you go, I want to get your final thoughts here, but along with one final question here off a concern from the text line is the turnovers. 12 turnovers for Nebraska today. Pointed out that they're averaging more turnovers than their losses than they are the rest of their games. Is that becoming a concern for you?
Well, let's think about it this way, right? So Nebraska turns the ball over 12 times and Iowa pulls down 7 offensive rebounds. So that is, if my math is correct, 19 extra possessions that Nebraska ended up giving Iowa. That's not great. You're going to be tough to make a living that way, whether it's, a 10-10 split or a 12-7, 12-8 split, whatever it is. But let's look at it this way. Iowa's 2 highest turnover games, a team that relies so much on player movement like Nebraska, but is much more ball dominant in Bennett Sturts, plays a naturally low turnover style. Their 2 highest turnover games of the season have come against Nebraska, or at least I think 2 of their top 3 or 4 have come against Nebraska, who also pulled down 5 offensive rebounds of their own. So 19 free possessions for Iowa, 24 for Nebraska. Nebraska's +5. If you combine those 2, sort of free opportunity possessions, they're +5. Okay, that's good, right? They had more opportunities at it. Ended up with a couple fewer shots, maybe because of some of those turnovers late. But also, trips to the free throw line added up for Nebraska, which is where Iowa had to chuck. Iowa had to shoot a couple more. So you only get outshot by 2. You make the same number of field goals. You're +10 at the free throw line and only -1 in terms of made 3-pointers. Yes, obviously turnovers are a thing that can get you beat anytime, but especially in March where it's one and done season, right? Missing free throws like Nebraska did, leaving that many points at the free throw line can get you beat in March. Both those things have popped up for Nebraska in program history. But I still think this is a Nebraska team that does generally take pretty good care of the basketball. It's not like they were physically overwhelmed by Iowa today the same way they were in Iowa City. Iowa wasn't just taking candy from a baby. Nebraska was a little loose, a little sloppy early. Nebraska made some risky passes. Nebraska tried to throw some long passes. Just like in football, the more times you throw it deep, the more times you're going to be intercepted deep. So yes, Nebraska can always stand to cut down on them, which team really couldn't. But as long as Nebraska continues to force turnovers, and it's not, bogging down the half-court offense like it didn't seem to do there in the second half. I mean, it's always on your mind, but I think Nebraska has a much better track record of taking care of the ball than to, just look at this Iowa game and say, yeah, it's absolutely a concern.
All right, he's Austin Overman live from Pinnacle Bank Arena. Thanks again, Austin, for tuning in or jumping in here on the post game.
Absolutely. Don't worry, everyone. More reaction to this tomorrow on Old School. 26-5 regular season for Nebraska. They are the 2 seed in the Big Ten tournament. We'll talk about it more probably 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and heck, maybe 5 o'clock tomorrow on Old School. Thanks, Bach. Thanks, Arden.
Yep, there he goes. It is the story of Lincoln right now is Nebraska basketball. Will be here until the season comes to a conclusion. It is postseason time. How awesome is it that we've arrived here? Once again, thanks to our sponsors, Union Bank and Trust. Get a great rate on 6, 12, or 24-month CDs with Union Bank and Trust. Learn more at ubt.com. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical, proudly serving the Lincoln, Omaha, and surrounding areas. John Henry can assist you with any service like electrical maintenance, installation, or repair. Call today at 402-809-1159 or go to jhlincoln.com. And Lincoln Airport, American Airlines is back at Lincoln Airport, bringing new nonstop flights from Lincoln to Dallas, Fort Worth, and Chicago O'Hare starting in June of 2026. With seasonal winter service to Phoenix starting in winter of 2026. Tickets are on sale now. Arden, we already had you the last segment to give your pitch for yourself and your involvement here at the Ticket, so we don't need to do that again. But any final thoughts from today on Nebraska basketball?
I want to know where Nebraska basketball's ceiling is. I think that there were times this year that it felt like maybe ranked Mass could touch it if he jumped, and I think this win makes it a whole lot higher, hopefully blowing the roof off Pinnacle Bank, as Austin alluded to. But yeah, I think that the Huskers have their sights set on that Big Ten championship and then making as deep of a run into the NCAA tournament as they can. It's not about getting that first NCAA win. It's about how many can they get consecutively and hopefully get their one shining moment.
Absolutely. Fantastic reference there to that great dunk. Best dunk, I think, as a Husker as well. So that's another highlight for the Huskers. That'll wrap it up for the post-game show. It's International Women's Day. We will celebrate more coming up next here on 93.7 The Ticket.
Stop into Zollner Ford Beatrice for Truck Month. Check out 0% financing